Position the two-player board in the middle of the table with the Sigil of Time board next to it. Set the time dial pointers to any sectors. Place all effect markers next to the game board, forming the shared supply. Determine the first player at random. The first player chooses a castle and takes 3 character bases. The second player gets the remaining. Each player places the castle marker on the first space of the castle track on the Sigil of Time board. The first player advances their marker 2 spaces. After the general setup is finished, players pick characters. For the best learning experience, pick pre-made bands. In the following games, you will be able to draft your band. Take character tokens and place them on the corresponding character sheets. Each player takes the leftmost character base and places it on their castle hex. To make the next character enter the field, the player should empty their castle hex by moving the first character to another hex. The goal of the game is to destroy the opponent's castle. The game is played over a series of rounds. Each player's turn is divided into 3 phases: time phase, ability phase, and control phase. Then the second player performs these 3 phases, and both players proceed to the next round. In the first round, the time phase is skipped, so we will talk about it later. Ability phase. During this phase, you can use any available abilities of your non-stun characters. Each character has 3 unique abilities. One of them is the core one, and the other 2 are support abilities. Core ability. The core ability is used for maneuver or attack. Slide the ability token to the selected action symbol. A character may perform a maneuver, i.e., move into any adjacent unoccupied hex, except for the opponent's castle hex, or attack an opponent's characters. Attack points and attack range may be constant or dependent on the conditions listed on the character sheet. Declare the target or targets that fall within the attack range and calculate the attack points. Calculate the injuries dealt to each target by subtracting the target's defense points from the resulting attack points. By default, each character has 0 defense points, but can gain them from defense increase effect. Vitality markers are used to track the number of injuries the character has. Once the last injury is dealt, the targeted character is considered exiled. Its token is placed on the castle hex, and the castle of the exiled character suffers 1 damage. Support abilities can literally and figuratively shift the tide of battle. Some of these abilities initiate one-shot actions, including moving characters, and some apply positive or negative effects. Their range, the number of targets, and all other conditions are explained on the character sheets. Positive effects are applied to your characters, and negative effects are applied to enemy ones. All effects last until the beginning of your next turn. Support abilities need time to recharge. Place the respective ability token on your cooldown area on the Sigil of Time. It goes in the sector marked by the number equal to the calculated cooldown. Now this ability can be used again after the specified number of rounds. When you have used all abilities you wanted to, declare the beginning of the control phase. Each catapult tower under your control deals 1 damage to the opponent's castle. You control a catapult tower whenever a sum of the control points of all your characters in that tower's hex and 4 adjacent exceeds the sum of the control points of all the opponent's characters there. By default, each character has 1 control point, but can gain 1 point per control increase effect and lose 1 point per control decrease effect. After the first player has performed the control phase, the second player takes their turn. They perform 3 phases in that exact order, starting with the time phase. After that, a new round begins. Time phase. Each round begins with the first player rotating the time dial 1 sector clockwise. After that, the players proceed with their turns. The player's turn begins with the time phase. Remove all positive and negative effect markers from your previous turn, and check the time dial. An ability becomes charged when the time dial pointer stops on a sector with that ability token. Place all your charged ability tokens back on your character sheets. The game ends immediately when one player's castle marker reaches the last space on the corresponding track. the other player is declared the winner.